This is the model of an engine from a Type 7C U-boat. It's a supercharged Germany Fert 6-cylinder 4-stroke diesel. It delivers about 2,800 to 3,200 shaft horsepower and propel the submarine along at about 17.7 knots on the surface and 7.6 knots submerged. I think it's taken me longer to build this than it did the real thing. Let's go and have a look and see how I did it. Hi everyone, Ted here, Ted from eModels, emodels.co.uk, that's them. And we're here for part 5 of the Trumpeter U-boat, the U552, the Type 7C U-boat in a 1/48 scale. You can already see some of the sections behind me that we did in the earlier videos, and this is part 5, and we're going to have a look at the engine, which you saw right at the start, and it's taken an age to build because it's a multitude of parts. It's a kit in itself. It's amazing the detail in it, and it's taken me an absolute age to get together, even to get it to this stage. I would have filmed most of the build and putting it together, but there's been so much swearing, so much drinking, so much lying down in a darkened room that it was easier to put it all together, show you where we're up to, and continue it from there. Anyway, without further ado, let's get across to the bench and we'll have a look at the rest of it. Let's put the rest of it together and get some paint on it. It's been a long one. See you in a moment. Right then, this is where we came in. This is what you saw right at the start and the introduction. One of the first things I'll point out is that you'll actually see it's on a little bit of a pallet. I built that just really as a bit of fun, but it actually comes in quite useful because the way that the I think it's the clutch or the thrust bearing here for the shaft, the way that goes in there, it does leave the engine a little bit sort of slanted. If you're sitting on the bench and trying to put parts on, it's a little bit, as you see under here, it's a little bit uneven, and it's nicer to work on it straight. So I just built a little bit of a pallet to put it on. I built it as a pallet because it just looks like a bit of fun, but anything just to straighten it up and just to keep it straight as the glue sets and things don't sort of get out of line and things like that. One thing I will mention is that, as you can see, there are a multitude of parts and lots of bits of pipe work all on there, and this has to be fit in order. Have a look at the instructions. Try not to jump ahead and think, oh, I'll just get that bit on now and get that bit on. It won't fit. If you do fit this pipe here, where's my little pointy stick? You see, this pipe here goes all the way under all this and comes around and goes up the top here and then along over these, I think they're fuel injectors, and under here it goes all along here. If you put these bits on here before you put that bit in, it won't fit. Ask me how I know that. So take heed of the instructions. The instructions are a little bit sort of difficult to understand, and you let's find the instructions. Yep, here we go. Fetch instructions in. Oops, there's lots of parts. Move that out of the way. Wobbly camera. There's lots of parts on here, and you really have to get a pencil or something or a pointy stick just to work out where these parts go and trace them along. Right, that goes in there. It doesn't actually tell you what order to go in, but get all these pipes in first, this one and this one. Get these parts on, and see there's some more pipe work over here. Get the pipe work bits in as well. If you can hear that noise in the background, that's actually rain on the shed roof it's chucking it down out there. Glad I'm in here. Have time to spend at the bench rather than out in the rain. Another thing about the pipe work is the sprues. The sprue, or the trees, or whatever you want to call them, are delicate. You see on here, this little piece of pipe work here, see how it's held on? It's held on quite firmly, and that's fine. What you will find is that some of the parts, most of them have gone now, but take this one for instance, this one here, fetch it back into shot, this one, because of these, find a pointy stick, because of these little bits that stick out that go after the parts where it's held to the sprue, because they stick out and they are very, very thin. See that one up there? These do tend to get knocked about. You know, you get the problem where you get one sprue against another. You know, you take them out of the box, you open the bag and you put them down, and then one sprue will get stuck on another and they will snap. Believe me, they will snap without a thought, and then you have to sort of glue them back and try and figure out which way they go on, and that does take a lot of time. Another thing about them as well is how to take them off. Now let's click across to another camera and we'll have a look at how to take something as small and delicate as this off. Right, here we go again. This time the voice is a little bit different on this because I forgot to record the sound. So I'm trying it with a bit of a voiceover. But anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to show you another way to cut these pieces off without using your sprue cutters. What you do need is a photo etch saw similar to this. It comes on, there's 3 or 4 blades that come on a photo etch sprue. I picked these up from E-Models when I was down in the store. Nice and fine, really sharp blades, so you've got to watch yourself with these. And they just fit into a scalpel type blade. So right, we'll get on with this and we'll show you how to cut it. So right, put that way. So rather than using the meaty sprue cutters, what we're going to do, we're just going to cut these off the tree, off the sprue, whatever you want to call it, just by slicing through where it's held on. We're leaving all the other bits until the end, and then we can cut them off later, and it's far easier to do that. Right, so just slice them off. As I say, if you used in your sprue cutters, you may find that because the parts are delicate and thin, they might actually squeeze the plastic and cause it to snap. But this fetches them off far cleaner and much nicer. There we are, that's that bit loose. Now I've really just, when I cut this off, I realised that I actually don't know where it's from, so I'll have to have a look at it in the instructions shortly and keep it to one side. I'll cut this off just for a bit of a demonstration for you guys. So right, let's get on with this. So right, we still don't need these, so we can now cut off the extra bits of nubs as such. We can use that, we can go back for that for our scalpel. I use the Swan Morton with a number 10 blade, nice and simple and fits in the hand really nicely for me. Other people might like to use the X-Acto knives, the different shapes and knives, they all fit into different people's hands, everybody's got different needs and likes. So it's just a matter then of slicing the parts off. That's it, over there. And then we can use the knife, which doesn't have to be used as a knife itself, but can be used as a scraper as well, and we'll see that in a moment. So I'll just finish cutting the nub off there. You'll find that once you get it cut from the sprue, you can actually get it then down onto the cutting mat and apply the pressure to it without fear of bending any parts or pinging them off around the room. So the extra plastic can then be just scraped off like that. So remember, you don't have to use your knife as a knife all the time. They make ideal scrapers as well, which is often the way to take parts off. the nubs off, like that one. Should be some scraping noises here, but obviously I'm doing a voiceover. Another thing you can use, just finish it off with the skinny sticks. These are really nice ones from UMP. Come in various grades, and obviously nice and thin, getting any of the nooks and crannies. No, we don't need them yet. Just finish it off. This is why when you come to paint your model, you put some primer on, because it'll always highlight any nubs or pieces of sprue that you haven't taken off. Right, that's it. Let's go down to the next bit. Here we are. Here's my little pot available from all good fast food outlets, and in here I keep some of the tiny bits, and you can see how small they are, and try not to lose them. I lost one of them, this one. You can see here it's how tiny the parts are on the sprue, and then on top of those, on top of the plastic part, is a little photo etch. Can it come into focus? Let's try it, wobbly camera while we focus it in. There, on top of that is a tiny photo etch valve wheel, and you can see how small they are. I actually lost one. I'd counted them off. First of all, I'd counted them off as can you see, I'll come back into focus. This camera is terrible for keeping focus. Right, let's move this down a little bit. I'd actually counted them all out, and I counted them all back again, and it says on the instructions to make 6. Put that out of the way, we don't want that one. I'd cut them all out, and it says on the instructions make 6. So I'd cut them all off, found the parts, cut them off, and then I realised there were 5. I'm trying to get the camera, there we go. I counted them off and found there were 5. And I thought, I've lost one. So I spent a whole day looking around, searching the carpet to see if the carpet monster had it. No, it hadn't. In fact, what I'd found in these parts here were actually there was 5 together on the sprue. When you get to this stage, if you're building it, be aware of this. There's 5 of these on the sprue together, and there is one separate one in a different position altogether on the sprue. So in fact I'd only cut 5 off and was looking for one that I hadn't even cut off. Then, to add insult to injury, when I was holding a piece as I am now, ping, it went. It disappeared. I knew I had it this time because I heard it go. Ping, it had gone. And it wasn't in a situation where it would fall on the floor or fall into my lap, because it was in midair when it pinged out the tweezers. It had disappeared. So after another day's frustration of searching the carpet, I decided I'd have to make my own. I was in the process of making my own, left the bench for the evening, and model making chicken walks into the workshop through the door that had been left open. Well, she can't open the doors herself, and jumped onto the bench and knocked everything flying all over the bench. But fortunately she found the missing part, and this is the very part that she found, the one where I haven't painted the valve wheel. So congratulations to Model Making Chicken, we found the part. Anyway, right, time to get some paint on this. What I'm going to do first is give it a coat of primer, and then check it's all right. Check there's no bits that want rubbing down or remaking, retouching, which is a good purpose for primer. If you're priming it, one thing it will do is, because there's a different I can't think of what I'm going to say, because there's photo etch and there's plastic together, different mediums, the primer will bring them all together so that when they're painted, the primer will provide an even coat for getting the paint on. And there's two coats of paint to go on, two colours to go on this. There's engine grey, and there is, it does say in the instructions, Mr. Hobby Colour 336 hemp. I don't know really. I think I'll go with the colour call out. I have seen these engines done in a little in a bit of a different colour, a blue grey. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to go down that route yet, but that won't be for this video. We'll get the primer coat on and then we'll decide what colours we're going to do on it, so that may be for the next episode. Right, I'm going to go and get some stuff ready and we'll give this a coat of primer. Okay, see you in a moment. Thumb. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a coat of primer on the parts that I've already got built. I've got the half mask because I'm not spraying in the spray booth. I've brought it over here. Normally with being acrylics, you could get away with just a bit of ventilation or the extractor fan working on the spray bench, but I suppose really you should wear a mask as well, particularly with me not having any ventilation at the desk. I brought the parts over to spray at the desk. A little bit easier to film and there's more light over here. So I've got the half mask. I'll be putting that on. So I'll do, hopefully, if it works, I'll do a voiceover about what's going on rather than trying to talk through the mask. Okay, let's go and get this sprayed. Okay, here we are then. This time the intentional voiceover. I'm going to put some of this one-shot primer on from Mig. Excellent stuff, lies down really well and goes on nice and easily. To do it with, we'll use the H&S gravity feed airbrush with a 0.4 needle, about 20 psi, something like that. So we'll just get it ready and fill the paint cup. Give it a shake as well, of course. And now we can start and apply the primer to this. Give it some nice light mist coats to start. I always do that. It breaks the surface tension down on the plastic itself. Some people sort of mistake it for maybe a greasy surface, but what you need to do is get the paint just to break the surface tension of the plastic. So a nice mist coat usually does it. Easy to do like that. Try not to be too impatient and just take your time and change the angle of the piece you're spraying and getting all the nooks and crannies and getting everywhere. Okay, continue like that until it's all covered. And in the meantime, rather than watching it all being sprayed in real time, we'll just speed it up a little bit. Okay, back to you in a moment. Here we are then. Here's the primer coat done. It's dried, but I'm going to leave it overnight to harden off. You could probably carry on and paint it in about half an hour after you've done it, but I'll leave it overnight just to make sure it's gone all hard. And whilst I've had the spray, the airbrush out, I've gone and the white balance sorts itself out. There we go. I've gone and primed up some of the superstructure parts, the bulkheads as well, and these are done in white, obviously, as you can see. And for that I've used the UMP. Oops, there's a flash. Everything's white, so it's upsetting everything. It's using the UMP Ultimate Primer in white. The white takes a little bit more patience to get right, but otherwise it's as good as the grey and the black. It goes on superbly. One thing I will say about this is that you need to put it on in thin coats, especially the first couple of applications, the first couple of coats. Put it on in a mist coat and leave them to dry. What needs to happen is that the paint needs to break the surface tension of the plastic. You might think that, oh crikey, it's bubbling or something, it's splitting, I've got grease on the parts. You haven't. It's just the nature of the paint. You just need to leave it on very thin mist coats. Leave it for 10 minutes and in a mist coat, as it says on the back. Leave it 10 minutes between coats and then build it up very slowly. Just need a little bit more patience, but it goes on as well as the other stuff, and it certainly goes on as well as the primer for the engine. Right, everything's all different colours. My white balance is all to pot, so in the meantime, while these are drying off, let's go and have a look at something else. See you in a moment. There it goes again. Look at that. Okay, whilst the paint's drying, I just thought we'd move on and do something else, something a little bit interesting, just to break the monotony up of doing compartments and things. I thought we'd get on and do the flak gun, the aerial defence gun. Now, it's just worth pointing out that this part, most of the parts for the flak gun are on sprue E, and as I've said, there are some very delicate parts, and it's now obvious why Trumpeter protect some of the sprues in like a polystyrene sheet. Even when you're picking the sprue up, if you pick it up wrongly and you get your finger on something like that and the sprue bends under its own weight, it's going to snap. So just take some care looking after them. When you unwrap things, wrap them back again and then put them back into the bubble wrap or the plastic wrap that it's come in. Right, I'll go get this done, then we'll have a look at having a go at this. I'll get this denubbed and things like that, and then we'll come back and have a quick look at doing the flak gun. Bit of interest. Okay, see you in a moment. Right, welcome back. Right, the flak gun, the aerial defence scattergun as they call it, has all been cut off, and I've put it in my little box of compartments. You don't have to have one of these, but sometimes I just find it handy to keep all the parts together. As long as you keep it upright and you don't go carrying it around, the parts should stay pretty well together. What you can do with this, I picked this up just from a local pound shop. Keep all the parts together. I put sort of these mini sticky pads, varying colours, just in the bottom, just so you can highlight the numbers, and you can also write on them. There's that part we cut off before. You can also write on them the part number. That's S67, so I'll know where that is in the future. There's some of the other parts of the engine room, even big enough for this to hold my little pots containing things in. Now there's a scatter gun, that's in there. I'm going to leave that in there for the moment because this scatter gun involves the use of some photo etch. So we need a couple of parts out of here. That one, I think, and that one. Right, put them to the side there, and put this over here. And if you can hear that again, it's still chucking it down outside. Photo etch. This is the photo etch from the kit. As we see, there's already some parts gone off it. This here is the part that we need. To get that off, what I normally do, you can buy purpose-made photo etch sort of sheets and cutting. What I've got is some acrylic. I sort of got it off online as samples from a DIY store. Usually I find it's quite easy to use for cutting. This is the one that's already been cut, hence the marks. Way to do it, put it down, put that on top of it, and then use the other bit of acrylic, because it's see-through, you can see where you're going to go. Over there, and then I use one of these X-Acto scalpels just to cut through the tab holding the photo etch on. It's often a good idea just to not necessarily skip stages, but sometimes when you've been doing a lot of things that are quite repetitive, it's often good just to go and do something else. Another part of the kit, or even maybe another model. Because kits, especially large kits, can sort of sap your mojo at times, or they can just become a bit monotonous, especially if you're building a tank, for instance. You've got lots of tank tracks, tank wheels to do, and sometimes you need to go and have a break. So that's what I thought I'd do with this one. It's, I've been building compartments for a while. It's time to get a little bit extra done. Now this is just about cut out now, and it's also covered on both sides in some clear film. So if I can get it out, it will come out. Now I haven't a clue how this is going to bend. Put that over there, excuse me for the rattle. Get this out of the way as well. There. Now then, the instructions tell us that it bends to fit that. There, that's it. But it doesn't tell us which way to bend it. And it also bends around that there. It's obviously catching it for the rounds, for the spent rounds as they come out of the gun. So does that go there, that there, and that there? I'm right, I think that's it. There's a part that will glue there, and then it will glue there, and then it will glue there, he says. Okay, let's have a go. Fetching my photo bender. This could all go horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. Just need to find a spot that will bend. Right. Now there's a little bit, if we look on here, I do find out, I do choose all the hard parts to show. If that goes up there, and then it bends there, which could correspond to that piece there. See how it goes up and then bends in. Let's have a go. If it doesn't work, we'll have to bend it straight again. So there, top of that, top of that. Tighten it down. And I use another X-Acto flat blade. It's a bit used and rusty, but doesn't need to be anything special for this. It's just to bend the photo etch up like that, I think. Now that should correspond with that. Does it? Sort of. I can see the principle now, I think. I think that goes there, and then this will go there across like that. Oops, trying to get trying to get it all in together. Hang on, let's try again. That will go in there like that, then that will go in there like that. Are you with me? I think we're getting there. I think that's the way it does it. This may or may not work. Try again. If it all goes wrong, as I say, we can bend it straight again. Sort of like a goal post. Set of goals for the garden. That then will fit in there like that. I think we have it. Right. Right. What would have been better? Yes, one side is longer than the other. I just noticed that. So what I'm trying to do here is just apply some manual pressure in the corners, because the corners should actually be rounded. So see here, see how this corner, hang on, pointy stick, I can see it better then, I can point it out better. This here, this length here is slightly longer than this one. So that there got it the right way around, does fit in there like that. Right, it's going to go. I think we've got it, by George, I think we've got it. And that one sticks in there like that. Yes. Right, let's clean this photo etch up. Take the foil off it. The film off it. Static. Go away, go away, go away, go. And the film off that bit. Yeah, when you come to bend it, you'll actually see where the angles change. It needs to bend there in that corner, and the angle changes up here as well, so it bends there, so it goes straight across there. Now I'm thinking that this would actually be a piece of knitting rather than obviously brass or steel or anything like that. So the catch net would sort of fall in there. Right. A little bit of cleaning up just to do in there. Now I think, no, this one needs to be cleaned as well. I've got my gloves on today because I injured my finger whilst at work. It doesn't look too nice, so rather than inflict that upon you, it's a lot nicer just to have a pair of gloves. It's under there. Right. Okay, where's my glue? Photo etch, we need super glue. Where is it? Yep, there it is. Okay, bit of super glue, medium. Gives a bit of playtime, bit of extra time to play with it, and hopefully we can get things glued. We're about to glue our fingers together. Going back to these little notepads, what I showed you earlier for the bottom of the gadget box, I actually use them just for putting a touch of super glue on. Cocktail stick. Right, let's have a go and watch how this doesn't glue at all, because it never does. So what we could do in there, clean this up. Over here so you can see it a little bit, and then we'll try and put that, he says try being the optimum word, I'll do the right way around, that way. I'll stick that on there. I think it's about photo etch. It either goes together brilliantly, or you could take all day trying to glue it together. And this isn't going to go. You can often tell straight away whether or not it's going to glue, and this isn't going to glue. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. There we go. Just hold that in there. Oops. Just try and run a little bit extra just in there, and then what we'll do, we'll move the photo etch into the plastic. Sometimes the dampness in your breath can set it off. Just a bit of heavy breathing in the background. You ever wondered why people never want to show how to do photo etch on camera? try and keep it as still as possible, because the slightest movement, sometimes it's funny stuff. Super glue. Glue your fingers together instantly. Anything else, if you move it, it doesn't seem to bond. I think we've got it cracked now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let that photo etch, that glue set where it is now, and then I'll work the other side, this side. I'll work that in to fit the bottom of the basket. We're getting there now. See, I've just got to close that gap up there and form it around the basket. Nope, completely gone. It's beat me. It's beat me. It's beat me. Couple of minutes. I'll be back. I'll be back. This isn't gonna beat me. I'm gonna get this done. See you in a moment. Wow. Well, here we are again. I wish I could come back and say that was easy. I just went away and it glued together fantastically. It didn't. I had to go away and get some fresh super glue, because the old super glue does go off. If you leave it on the shelf, it will become less effective over time. I think the batch I had was beyond its date. Plus, as well, you can keep super glue in the fridge. It keeps it fresh. So I went and got a new batch of super glue and started to glue this together. When we used the photo etch bender, forget it. Forget about what I said. Don't use that. The way I found the best way to do this piece of photo etch, there's a little gap there just at the bottom. I need to fill that in. Form it around the bottom of the basket. Glue one piece on. Bend it in with the rounded edges. Glue that piece on. Glue that piece on. Glue that piece on, let it set. Glue that piece on and let it set. Then put this part on. I can't remember what the number is. E34. E34 if you're looking at the instructions. Put that part on, glued to the bottom of the basket, and then you can form the rest of the basket to fit the framework. That's the easiest way that I've found doing this. There's one or two little gaps, but it won't be noticed when it all gets together and glued and painted and everything like that. As I say, I believe it's probably most likely to be a net rather than something metallic. Certainly if I'm wrong, you guys can tell me by putting something in the comments below. That's the way that's going to go together. And now I need to go have a lie down in a dark room, and then tomorrow I'll come back and we'll have a look at putting the gun together and get it all sprayed up. And by that time the engine should be dry from its primer coat. Primer doesn't take long to dry, but I just like to give it sort of overnight to dry, and we'll sort of have a round up and see where we go from there. Right, I'm going to have a cup of tea, I'll go to bed and lie down, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the rest of this gun off. Okay, see you in the morning. Well, a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds for you. See you in the morning. Bye. Hello, right, I'm back. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the time is that you're watching this video. Let's carry on with the flak gun. I put it all away last night and just about to get the parts out now and we'll put it together. So we have the bit that gave us all the trouble last night, the cage. the bullet catcher, if that's the right word. Then we've got some detail for the plinth. I think there's one part that I haven't cut off this yet. That's the wheel that goes on the side of the gun, but I'll cut that off later on. And as we see, we keep all the parts in here. Now it's just a matter of getting them back out again. There we go. So we get this together. Should go together fairly simply. There's a few parts. All the parts. Oops. Right, keep the lid on that so we don't lose anything. Put it to one side. The instructions. Right, simple enough. One thing about having a little compartment box for all your bits, you can, as I say, you can cut all the parts off and denub them, and then you can keep them ready for the build. Find out what tab your extra thing. I should really see now how quickly sometimes these bits do go together. That's that. And a B41 that goes in there. No, it doesn't say how far down it needs to go on that. Right. I'll put B18 on top first. That's that one. I don't think there's any way of making this movable. Let's check it straight. The collar here needs to be straight rather than the part on the top. Well, that's that one done. That's dry. What else do we need? E28, that's the base itself. It's sometimes just nice just to do something a bit interesting, and I thought the gun, a bit of armament, might be a bit more interesting, and just be a change from doing millions of parts in the compartments. Now you may think that the cost of this kit is quite excessive, but however the amount of time that you spend on it compared to the number of kits you would have bought over that time would be quite comparable. So I would think this is what, a 5 kit build. 5 if you split the build into the number of kits you would have built in the amount of time. I reckon you'd build about 5 kits. So that's my way of thinking anyway. That one. Right, this is a B31 and the gun goes on there. Which way up does it go? Might be easier excuse me, if we put the magazine in first. And making sure it's the right way round. It will fit. Will it fit another way? Oops. No. It'd look quite silly if it went the wrong way around. It won't fit. Usually the tolerances are quite tight with Trumpeter, and it needs to go in there like that, so just a touch. Little nub there that we missed, just take that off. There it goes in now. Just put a touch of glue on there. Oops, there's my camera flashing again. It has been doing this, I don't know why it does it. I think it's the white balance. Right, there. The magazine on the gun. Okay, we'll leave that to set as well. Where else is to go? This one to go on the little airframe. That way around. It's always a good suggestion to orientate the parts to the same as they are in the book, just to make sure you get them the right way around. Okay. Excuse me sniffing, I seem to have woke up this morning with a bit of a head cold, so it's filled myself up with paracetamol and decongestants, and hopefully we can keep going. That's that one, he thinks. Yep. Not very good at denubbing, that's another one I've missed. And this one, the harness, would go in there. Sort of a shoulder brace for the gun. I'm sure you've all seen them on the war films. Now this one doesn't seem to have a locating lug, so it's more a case of holding it till the glue sort of sets, and it hasn't set yet. So just count and look around the workshop for a minute. Okay. There we are. It seems to have got to hold, and once again it's just a matter now of letting all these, even in the gun there's sub-assemblies, so we'll leave all these little sub-assemblies time to dry, and then we get them all together. God, it's all parts, all bits. See you in a minute. Flash, flash. Okay, right, back to the flak gun. We'll let the parts dry, of course, and now it's the interesting part, putting it all together. It's quite simple. I've already test fit it once, I won't lie, just to check it's all gone in. Just make sure everything's the right way around. That needs to go that way. something like that. A bit of glue. I've got the instructions here to the side, just checking as we go along. Yep, that looks about right. I found the missing part, this part here. What is it, C20? It comes from the sprue, C20. And that is like an elevation wheel, I think. So as the guy is firing a gun, his mate can be winding up, or perhaps he does it himself. I can't remember now. That one, go on. Try not to spring apart across the room to the carpet monster. There we go, that bit goes in there. That piece on down like that. Excellent, okay. What next? We've done that one, done that bit. This piece can then take the gun itself. Not sure what size of gun this is, I'll have to look that up. And that way. It's quite fragile, there's quite a few bits on it, so just take care. It's fairly detailed. There's the iron sight on the top there. Go in that. I did test fit this, but I didn't do this bit. I forgot all about it. I think this needs a little bit of this rather than Tamiya extra thin. Just put a bit of this on. This will just give us that extra bit of working time. Put that there, and that sits in there like that, I think, if it doesn't fall out. Just checking it's lined up. Getting there. And that should then sit in there like that somewhere. Does it? I think it goes in like that, and I've just knocked this bit off at the back. I thought it was glued. Anyway, see, it fell off. These things happen, especially when you're filming. That bit goes there. Leave them to dry now. Right, just point out this bit. This, because it's all photo etch, all brass, the paint might not adhere to it as good as we want. It probably will. Put the lid back on your glue, because if you don't, you've lost it all, and you get rid of all the stripes on your mat. Never mind. Right. Yeah. Right. What we were saying. Yep. The large parts of photo etch. Wish I could find a way to stop that flashing. Right. The large parts of the photo etch sometimes may take a little bit of work to get the glue to adhere to them. Small bits, not too fussy about. Because it'll go on fairly well. But if it's a case of a large piece, I use some of this Mr. Metal primer. I give the photo etch a coat of this before we go on to the primer stage. It just gives it that bit of an etch, just to get the paint to grab. Alright, we're just about finished with this. This should go on there. Like that, I think. Just trying to work out the right place for it to go. The instructions aren't exactly clear. I think they go in there like that. See, they fit to that little block just under there. I think that's the way it goes. It seems to fit both sides, and it seems to fit fairly well. So that's where it's going to go. Sometimes you have to make a decision, whether it be the wrong one or the right one. Don't want the metal primer, the glue, that won't glue it. Do you have one of them days? Up full of cold and the glue won't set. There, looking something like now. I don't want to glue this bit on yet, and that's going to go on there, something like that, on that part there. I don't want to glue that on yet, because if I do, that bit will fall off. Alright, we'll let this glue set, and we'll see you in a moment. Right, welcome back. I did say that I didn't think I'd probably be getting any paint on in this episode, but I thought why not? We'll see what we can do. Just put this airbrush down a little bit. Now you may remember when we went out, there's a piece falling off there. See how fragile it is? There's a little piece falling off. I'll have to keep that to one side and get it put back on later. When it first started, I said that the colour that the instructions give, Trumpeter give, is 336 hemp. I wasn't exactly over happy with that. I'd looked around and I'd seen some pictures of the way the people had done this on the internet, and they'd sort of painted theirs in this green colour, which I thought was actually quite nice. Remember, it's your model. Whatever you're doing, you don't have to stick to the rules. You can make a change if you think something looks better, and in this case I thought this green looked better. I tried a couple of colours out in the back of here, and you can see the hemp there, and this is the green one is olive green, which I think was a bit too green, and that was olive drab. Was it khaki? Oh, it's khaki drab, sorry. Or was it? I can't even remember what it was, but it didn't look right anyway. So I thought I'd go and get some colours. I had a look through my pots, my store, and I had these Sun Valero colours. I had refractive green, and I also had olive green. Now the olive green, as you can see, was a bit too green, and the refractive green was a little bit too dark, as you can see compared to the pictures. So what I did, I made up my own. Now I must apologise for this, because I can't tell you the formula for the colour, because I put some olive green in, and then I put some refractive green in, give it a shake, tried it, wasn't right, put a little bit more refractive green in, still wasn't right. So then I tried a bit of white as well, put that in to light it up a bit until I got to about the right colour that I thought. I tried it with a little bit of paintbrush on the back here, and it looked about the right colour. You can see under here a couple of little experiments, if you can see the difference in colours there. Because the colour will change again when it's on the primer, depending what colour primer. If I was to paint this in white, it'll probably brighten it up again. But I think that's about a nice colour now. Well, I'm happy with it anyway, and that's the way it's going to be. So I've just finished the first base coat. I'm going to let that dry, and then a couple of pieces that I've missed, I'll pick those up with the airbrush later on. But it's certainly, you can see the details starting to come out now in it as the colours pick up. The pipework that I've just broken as well comes from there, so I've got to put all that back on. So that'll do us. Right, I've got to let this dry. As I say, it's a little bit extra than I thought I would get, a little bit further with the painting. Now that's just got to go in steel grey, I think, or something like that, the bottom part, but I'll mask that off and spray it up separately, and we'll get on with it. But it's looking the part. Right, that'll be about it for this bit of the engine. I'm going to colour it up and then paint it all up and come back and show it all finished. See you in a moment. Okay everybody, welcome back. Right, I've done the engine. I've given it its second coat of paint, the second colour. I'm about ready to glue some of the really tiny bits on, and then I can get it all put together. I've done the scattergun as well, but I've just primed that. I will leave that for maybe the next episode, when we'll look at weathering the engine as well, doing a little bit of weathering and getting the engine room finally all put together. I'm sure you'd like to see some weathering, so that's what we'll do. Right, the next part we're going to go and have a look at is something that you enjoyed last time when we looked at some game footage from Silent Hunter, when we could have a look around the inside of a Type 7C U-boat. So we'll have a look in the engine room, see where all the bits go that we've just put together, and have a look at that. So hopefully the footage should be over here, or is it over here? Right, anyway, either way it's coming in. See you in a moment. Okay, here we are outside the engine room. Let's go and have a look. We're opening the door. Mind your head as we step in and just meet the chief engineer, just as he's examining his engines, waiting for the off, because looking at the telegraphs we're all stopped. There's the port engine and the telegraph over the deck head down to the other side. Starboard engine, identical engines. The telegraph is a way of the control room telling the engine room what it wants from the engines. Engine control levers, some ancillary equipment just around the engine room. Now let's shut the door, keep the draft out. Okay, if we ask this chap to move, we can have a look, see if there's anything down at the side of the engines, see if we can see anything. No, it's just a bit dark, but once again there's the control panels and telegraph. I've walked down past the engineer, looking aft to the generator room. We'll have a look at that in another video. We're about the rear of the engines now. I think this is where the gearboxes are and the drive from the engines to the shafts. Lots of equipment, lots of bits and pieces, very dangerous, very noisy, confined spaces, noise, smells. Anyway, let's see if the telegraphs move as the control room rings the engine room.
Minimum speed ahead. Minimum speed ahead.
Yeah, we build up the speed slowly so we don't put any torque or too much strain on the gearbox. Once the shafts are turning, and we can up the speed. And as you see, the push rods and everything start to move in the engine room. The engineer checks them all out. And of course, the faster the engines go, the faster these push rods move. Full speed ahead. That's got the boat moving through the water now. I'm not sure what this tank is above the engines. Maybe it's an oil holding tank. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, it's getting a bit noisy, a bit smelly in here. So we'll continue, go back forward. Back into the galley. And there's that strange looking chef. I think we'll leave him alone today. Let's shut the door, keep the noise in. What's for dinner? Carrots, soup, onions. Oh well, let's leave these guys to the rest of the cruise then, and we'll see them again. Okay then, welcome back. I hope you liked that little bit. It was just a bit of fun, just a little bit of footage from the video game by Ubisoft, Silent Hunter. It's not a bad game, fills a bit of time now and again, but not often that I play video games these days, as you could probably tell by my movement around the submarine. Hopefully the sound wasn't that bad. Anyway, that's really all for today. I've gone on a little bit longer than I thought I would have done. I've managed to get the second coat, or the second colour, onto the engine. If you could keep it in shot. Done that, and we could see here, just in, if we can get somewhere in there, I've started putting all the tiny little details in, those little valves and the push rods. The push rods that we saw in the video. Trying to get them on, getting them fit, and we're all ready. The little scatter gun, that's come together. That's quite a nice little model in itself. Nice. It's just in grey, as I say. I haven't done anything else with it yet. We'll look at painting the weapons up and everything else when we get to the outside of it. There's an 88mm deck gun to go on as well. So we could probably build that separately as well. We'll have a look at that. Right, as I say, the next video we'll have a look at getting this engine weathered up. We'll put everything else back together then. Hopefully the next video won't be as long between shots as the last one, as this one's been. It's just I've had a lot to do with all sorts of things been going on. Anyway, don't forget, if you're watching this and you haven't seen us in the live stream on a Monday night, myself and my good friend Fox Wolf, we do the E-Models live stream. Come along at 9 o'clock British summertime is at the moment, well soon GMT, as it will be in a few weeks. 9 o'clock UK time anyway. Come along, have a look. We're on YouTube. Join us at the YouTube channel for E-Models, and look forward to seeing you all then. Anyway, time for me to go. Time to go and get cracked on and do something else for you, whatever that may be. Keep watching. Bye now. Bye.